What's going on, everybody? I promise if you stay on the stream, I will never, ever dance again in my life. Never again. How are you doing today? Happy, what is today? Tuesday. Working at home, working for yourself. I kind of forget what day of the week it is, especially because I've streamed like 10 days straight now. So it kind of all runs together. But guys, we got a lot to cover today. Thank you for joining the Finance Freeman live stream. As always, every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Sunday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you all for being here. A lot of uncertainty in the markets, but there's one thing for certain, that nothing is for certain. That's the only certainty that we have in life. When we're taking a look at kind of crypto altogether, nothing's really moving too much. Some things are a little down. Some poo-poo coins are up, but other than that, nothing too much. But we got a lot to get into. Could a recession be coming? Oil prices are spiking up. And in this live stream, I'm going to tell you why oil prices matter. Maybe you drive a Tesla and you don't think that it matters that oil prices are going up. Well, you are sorely mistaken. Oil prices go into everything. And one thing that they go very heavily into is the CPI number, which is the Fed's #1 way that they rate inflation. Now, should they do that or should they use trueflation? Well, that's an argument for another time. Maybe we get into that later in the stream as well. But there's no doubt that if oil prices and energy prices stay high, that it's going to make inflation be higher as well. After all, everything uses oil to move back and forth, left and right, ships, vehicles, 18-wheelers, you name it, oil is used. And so it's a very, very big part of inflation. And we know if inflation is high, then the Fed is not going to want to cut interest rates. But what happens if we have high inflation and high unemployment? Well, then the Fed has a serious problem at their hands. But we're going to go over what I am doing with my money, what I am doing to try to make as much of it as I possibly can. But I always have to say, guys, remember, I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is financial advice. I'm just this random dude on the internet. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I'm not no scholar. I'm not no government person. I couldn't be a government person because I don't like to lie. I like to tell the truth. And so I don't think that really bids well for being in the government. And I'm not a financial advisor because I'm way high risk taking. I've got a very high risk tolerance, so much, always have, always will. But hey, say good morning. What's up to everyone in the chat? If you can, wherever you are at in the world, please retweet the space if you're over on X. If you're over on YouTube, use not these, but these, and give it a big thumbs up. It helps a lot. And if you don't subscribe, come on, subscribe to the channel. And then I do want to say, shout out to our stream sponsor, the only official centralized exchange for finance freemen, Blowfin. I'm very, very excited about them, guys. There will be a link down below on YouTube. There's also a link on other platforms if you are wanting to check it out. On X, you can find it, and YouTube as well. So those will be there. More on that later. But let's get into the crypto markets. We're going to dive into the stock market. We're going to dive into oil. We're going to dive into Mr. President Trump and everything going on right now in this very uncertain time with what's going on in Iran. And it's going to be a good show for you all today. I've got me a cup of a coffee. Funny story. I was making coffee and I was running a little bit late. My son's got strep throat, so he's home. I feel like these kids are always sick. It's like the second time he's had it this year. So he's home. I'm checking on him. I'm making coffee. I get the countdown going for the stream. I'm like, hey, son, are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah, Daddy, I'm okay. All right, cool. And so I'm pouring my coffee, coming in here, and I look at the cup. And it says world's best grandma. And I honestly, like, my wife's not a grandma, not to my knowledge. Like, my kids are under 10. So I don't know, unless she has something from a different life that she hasn't told me about. So maybe it's my mama's cup or something. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go into the stream with that. So then I had to find me my good old Yeti. Shout out to Lofi the Yeti over on Sui. Has absolutely no correlation. But David and guys are a really good group of people there. But let's get into some of the latest. Oil prices have now erased all losses seen under the Trump administration, up $23 a barrel since December. And that might not sound like a lot, but whenever we take a look at this picture, 54, okay, was the price. So 23 divided by 54 is about a 35-40% price increase on oil. And so how does oil really matter? Okay. Everything takes shipment. Okay. Whether you're shipping via 18-wheeler, shipping during some kind of boat, whatever. Okay. Also, manufacturing takes energy. And so whenever oil prices go up, if my coffee cost $1 when barrels of oil were $54, and now it's costing twice as much in the oil, you've got to imagine that at least 5% of this cup of coffee is the transportation fees, right? And so now that transportation portion of this cup of coffee doubles. And it also does it for my medicine. It also does it for my son's juice over here that he left in my room. It has to do with absolutely everything. And more importantly than that, when we're looking at markets, we are wanting good fiscal policy. We are wanting to see lower interest rates. Okay. We want to see cheaper money. We want to see the money degrade so our money can go up. But obviously, we want to be able to outpace inflation. And the goal is to be able to outpace inflation by a lot. And so over the last 2 months, the average price of gas in the U.S. has surged from $2.80 to $3.11. Now, you may be in a state saying, hey, gas is $4, like in California. But you've got to keep in mind that a lot of states have very high gasoline taxes, okay? Other states don't. I'm in Texas. I think it's still under $3. I personally have one electric car. We have one gasoline minivan, actually. But I don't even really drive the car much anymore. I probably need to get rid of it. But I got it just because it's super cool. It's super cool. But tomorrow, and when was this posted? March 3rd. So this was actually posted about an hour ago. Tomorrow, we expect to see gas prices above $3.20, up nearly 15% in 2 months. Now, the question becomes, how long can the world afford to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed? And I've went over this before, but we can look at this again, and I can show y'all what this is. So if we go to Strait of Hormuz map. Okay, so if we look at this picture right here, let's try to find a good one. If we take a look at this right here, you can see that about 22% of the world's oil goes through this little canal right here, this little piece of water right here. It's a very big shipping part for especially the Middle East. The majority of this oil goes to places that are in the European, Asian, Pacific area. But still, none of the effect, oil is a global entity, right? So prices go up everywhere. Also, we are intertwined markets. So the United States ships things overseas. Overseas ships things to us. And so you could see the number one country that is, covering that is Iran, the one that is currently, they don't use WAR. I think they're saying operation now for legal reasons and things like that. But so as this stays closed, what happens is, prices of oil goes up. And the thing is that there has been a tanker that was struck by allegedly Iran. And even if the strait isn't closed, even the threat of being struck is a really big thing. Not necessarily for the oil companies, call it Chevron, call it any of those companies, but more for the vessels, because those vessels that transport this oil, that transport cargo, whatever it is, anything that's going through that area, they have insurance on it. The same way that you have insurance on your car. Well, your car would not be insured. Your car company would call you immediately if they knew that you were driving through roads that had rock rockets, like just throwing rocks all over your car, because it would automatically get all dented up, right? And they wouldn't want to cover that. So then you have uninsured, potentially vessels, right? And then those vessels remain parked. And so there's a lot that this could tumble into very, very quickly. And that's a reason, y'all know I've talked about this on stream a lot, but the number one chart that I've been watching is the Qs, the NASDAQ in the stock market. Everything's intertwined. The more you get into finance, the more you study this, you will see everything's intertwined. If one price drops, another price rises and vice versa. And it's all because this big financial monster machine that we're in, it all works together. And so the stock market, the NASDAQ, the tech side, you can see I posted it looks to roll over. The NASDAQ has had a rolling top for a while. And this is categorized the same way as a head and shoulders pattern, or the way that it is measured, where you would take the tip of it to what's considered the neckline or the breakout point, and then take that and measure it. That technical measurement takes the Qs down to about 535, and currently we are at 600. And so I said the Qs look like they want to roll over. NASDAQ has had a rolling top for a while, and it recently broke a 9-month trend line, retested, and failed. I am short NASDAQ for now via SQQQ, and we can get into that in a minute. And I'm not bearish long-term. I'm long-term equities and things like that, but I am a trader. And so down here, I said in context, short QQQ means long SQQ. So SQQ is actually a triple leveraged ETF. And so if it goes up, it's because the Qs are going down. Now, obviously, what I say is not what you should do. This is just personally what I am doing. Like I said, I don't recommend leverage. It's a very, very powerful tool, but it's a very dangerous tool. But if we come over here and take a look at the Qs, you can see we had this double top up here. And this would have been like perfect to get into right here, because even if you got in right here and we kept going, it's very easy from a technical analysis standpoint to have a stop loss that's 5% above it, right? I mean that's very easy. It's always easy at the very top or at the very bottom of something. At least maybe not easy is the right word, but risk reward ratio wise, because from here, what if we decide to go up there and make a triple top, You know what I mean? You're looking at a potential 7.5% move or something like that. Versus if up here it was just a few dollars up, you're talking about a less than a 1% move. You know, a 1% move would have been $6. So, but where we are at now, if we come back on the Qs and we look at this trend line right here, we have touch points right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. And to me, it looks like we don't have like a clear, this is on the daily candle, right? We don't have a huge breakdown candle yet, but it does appear that it was struggling all in this area to stay above it. And we've now dropped below it. Okay. We've now dropped below this trend line. And today the Qs has basically, I think they've been as low as 558, as high as like we could see right here, as low as 559, as high as right now. Right now is the high so far, 601.30, $601.30. And so I opened up this position because one thing I think is that the markets have been pricing in a very quick turnaround. Okay. I think they've been pricing in that this conflict isn't going to last long. And I think I posted this yesterday. Let me go try to find it. Or maybe it was this morning, that basically that the markets have been pricing that this was going to be a very quick turnaround, like I put right here. Okay. Because this was 4 hours ago. Global stock markets post largest declines in month as oil prices surge. As I said, when something goes up, something else is going down and vice versa. I said the market was pricing in a quick conflict. Could the conflict in Iran be longer? Now, one thing I believe is, and I haven't always believed this, but that the chart's going to do what the chart's going to do. The chart just looks for excuses to make the move. But overall, the chart's going to do what the chart's going to do. And we have to, if you're all in crypto, you still got to know what's going on in stocks. If you're all in stocks, you still have to know what's all going on in crypto. Because I believe that crypto is the first teller of all, because it's the most risk on of risk on assets. It's the one that when liquidity gets squeezed the most, liquidity gets squeezed out of the most risk on assets. And so Bitcoin would be considered more risk on than the Qs. But then pretty much the Qs is basically the next one. This is led by NVIDIA, by Apple, by percentage of holdings within the NASDAQ. And so we're going to take a deeper dive into BTC here in a little bit, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. And this person right here, let's look at them. Very large page. Futures market trader since 1975. Okay, so it's got a few years on me. Let's see, probably 15 to 20% incoming on the downside. The problem is that 20 can become a complete root. I don't really understand root means, but this is micro NASDAQ, so it's priced differently, but you can basically see it's the same thing, right? Same exact chart. You got a double top up here. Kind of looks like it's forming a diamond pattern, which, could break out either way, but it looks like it's going to break down. Like I said, I categorize this as a rolling top, which would have a measurement of what I said to around 530. If we take a look at this chart right here, you could see his line is where this double top was back here. And so that's at the top of my target line, you can see. So sorry, guys, excuse me. So this is kind of the area that I am looking at. Lows of around 500, but if we ever get a black swan event, obviously, nothing's off the table whenever there's fear and panic in the markets. But this is a position that I'm holding on to. I may consider closing it if the Qs got above this level, but probably not even then, because like I said, I think the chart always tells me. And once I got into technical analysis and once I learned that, there was times that I've been so bullish on an asset, right? Like everything just seemed to be going good, good, good. All the macro news was good. Everything was good. And the chart retraced 70, 80%. And then I got into technical analysis and I started learning about fib levels. I started learning about all of this, and I studied very much on human psychology and how all of trading is based on human psychology. And so whenever I've studied that, I'm basically a guy that my number one thing I look at is the chart, and then I look at macro news and macro events to, kind of tell me when I think these moves could happen. But let's go into some more stuff. Breaking, President Trump responds to Spain banning U.S. from using their military bases for Iran stuff. President Trump says the U.S. is now cutting off all trade with Spain. Okay, he has the right to stop everything that has to do with Spain. He instructed Treasury Secretary Bassett to cut off all dealings with Spain. The U.S. can use Spain's bases if we want. Just fly in and use it, he said. The U.S. doesn't want anything to do with Spain. And let's listen to what the president said right here. Interesting. And that's actually something that was confirmed with the recent Supreme Court ruling, was that under that act that the president had previously used for tariffs, it was deemed that he could not use it to collect tax or tariffs on it, but that within that you could do a complete embargo, which is cutting off all trade from a nation, which is what he just did to Spain. Like you said, Spain has great people, which I completely agree with. Actually, my best friend from real life is from Spain, and then also somebody I work very closely with, Chili Pepper, who will be clipping this up later, is from Spain. So shout out to them. Hi, buddy. I hope you're doing good today. I keep buying Kaspa. Man, I made a post about that earlier. Actually, we're gonna dive into that in just a minute. But let's get over here to BTC. I've been trading this thing like it's going out of style in this whole area. I've done pretty well with it. But let's take a look. Yesterday on stream, let's see, where was this at? This was right up here. We were way up here on stream yesterday. And, we were like, hey, are we going to break out? Are we not going to break out? Well, we didn't break out, right? Now, one thing I did show yesterday, and for anyone just joining this stream where I do all my trading, is at Blowfin. They are our official stream sponsor. And there will be a link down below up top. And I can actually put a QR code to make it easy for anybody that is looking for a new exchange. But just remember, just because I do something doesn't mean you should do it. It's not financial advice. But let's dive into this. So, we had this low down here of 60K. And then we had this low right here that was around 62.4K. And then when the overseas conflict started, BTC dropped like a rock. However, it made a higher low. So all of this is still intact when we take a look at this. We're still making higher lows, higher lows. You see that? Everything. The trajectory is going up, but we're also at the same time making lower highs. Okay. We tried to get past this yesterday. It didn't happen. So we're coiling up. BTC's coiling up for a move. Now, when's that move going to happen? If we want to look at the chart alone to tell us when the move would happen by, something will happen by the end of this month. Okay. Now, that just means it breaks out of this pattern. Okay. Could it do this number? Could it do this? Yeah, that's just the end of this pattern, right? We'd have to readjust it and everything. But something tells me it's not going to take that long. And so I don't have a crystal ball. I could stare at this all day and try to see if it'll tell me what's going to happen, but I don't think it will. But what I can use is use technical analysis and try to use what's going on in the macro to think what's going to happen. But I do think overall a lot of altcoins are overly sold off. Crypto Empress, what's up? We're going to have her on stream soon, guys. We did a little test run earlier, checking out her new setup. She spent all this money on new lights, new cameras, all this stuff. She's going to start making some video content. So shout out to Crypto Empress over on X. We're going to get her in front of the camera. My beautiful wife, what's up, mama? How are you doing? Our son is doing fine. He's in the other room. I promise he's fine. But my beautiful wife. So that's what BTC's looking at right now. We had AMC say, I keep buying CAS. And I'll go ahead and take the QR code off so it doesn't make the screen look a little ugly. But like I said, there's also my Blowfin link everywhere that people could find. Oh, one more thing. Before we move on from the BTC chart, let's look at liquidity. Let's look at liquidation levels, because now we're opening up liquidation levels on both sides for BTC. And so if we take a look at this, you can see that we've had these levels up top, right, around 70K. These levels have been there, but now we're starting to pop up more levels down here. And the reason that these kind of intermediary levels start popping up, because you can see they're not down here at the lows, but they're kind of underneath this move. It's because people don't have the guts, people don't have the glory to buy at the low. And I totally understand it. You know, it's hard. It's hard. When something's just down, 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 it's hard. However, if you go to the supermarket or you go to the mall and you're wanting to buy something that you probably don't need, like a new iPhone, and you see that it's down, down, down 80%, you would think that it's an absolute deal. Human psychology. Human psychology. That's what trading is absolutely all about human psychology. And so what I mean by that is nobody wants to buy right here. It comes up here and people are bullish, so they go long. And what happens? Their liquidation level is like right here, right? Same thing. When this price was going down, they're like, oh man, we're going to make a new low. We're going to make a new low. Oh, we're not long. And then their liquidation levels right here, right here, right here. And so that's how this works out. And so if we look at where the price of BTC is right now, 68K, we got liquidations down below at about a little under 67. We've got some up top around 69-ish. And then we've got the big pocket up here at 70. And if we go back even further, let's go back 2 weeks to where this cascade kind of ended. And you can see there's some pockets up here, you know, probably even a little higher. Let's go back a month. There should be some around 80, 85. So yeah, we got 72. You know, all up here is a lot of levels. If you look down here, we also have this right here. But just keep in mind, whenever we look at these liquidation levels, that the darker the color, the more money is there to potentially be liquidated. Man, I feel like I got my nose. How I look. Let me know if I ever got something hanging out my nose, guys. Y'all better do me a solid. Don't let me sit up here like a goofy with something hanging out my nose. Okay. Love you. Finger red number 1. Okay, I have a feeling you sent an emoji and it's not popping up good on my side. Okay. Let me know what you mean by that, buddy. But yeah, let's take a look at CAS. And then I'm going to get into some other stuff that I'm bullish on. Let's see. I posted this earlier. I said, not buying CAS at these levels would be a disservice to my family. Sound? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I haven't had anyone say they couldn't hear me. I've had people tell me they wish they couldn't hear me, but I haven't had anyone say there was a problem with the audio. I posted earlier, not buying cash at these levels would be a disservice to my kids because I have a big belief in Kaspa. I do. Now, it's proof of work, so there is challenges with that, the same challenges BTC will face. Kaspa's challenges are a little accelerated because it's a very fast emission schedule, and it's currently 96% mined. But there's some very big things coming up with Kaspa. VProgs, Dagnite, no sound from your website called X. Is anyone on X? Can anyone verify that? Let me see something real quick. Let me make sure we don't have a problem. Testing. Let me make sure we don't have a problem. I don't know, buddy. I can hear it, man. I don't know. Maybe it's just on your side. But I'm sure we got a couple hundred people in here. I'm sure a lot of people would be saying that because y'all wouldn't let me just sit up here and talk like a goofy, would you? But so my technical target, looking from a technical analysis perspective, is like 2.3 cents. Okay. Which sure, that's going down from here, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if we went down from here. However, I was happy buying Kaspa when it was 5 cents on the first go round, 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents. On the way down, 18 cents, 15 cents, 10 cents, 5 cents. I made a very big acquisition at 5 cents that I talked about. And so, this just goes right back to human psychology, right? The iPhone analogy. You'd be happy to buy an iPhone at a discount. People aren't happy to buy anything with green or red candles at a discount. But and that's basically what I said here. KRC20 was the top for Kaspa. In hindsight, it was kind of obvious because there was a lot of hype around it, KRC20, but there wasn't any smart contract capability. And so there wasn't a whole lot that could be done to bring a lot of demand for Kaspa. However, when we look at things like Solana, that's what caused the price of Solana to go up. Real demand, real use cases. And I've said this time and time again, that's what's going to happen for Kaspa. But I believe in Kaspa. I believe in the team of Kaspa. They are founded by Jonathan Sampolinsky. He was a man born from Israel. And I've had people be like, oh my gosh, it's like Israel state. Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? Come on, dude. Come on. Kaspa's completely decentralized. I just think Kaspa's wonderful. If we come over here, we'll take a look at Kas, which they do have over here on Blowfin, which is nice. If we take a look, you see the charts just look the same, so everything's just moving with BTC. If you look like this, maybe it's a little sharper down than it was. The breakout could have trapped a lot of people right there. And this is just when I say trap, that's from a trading perspective, right? If you're not trading, then really who cares? But this chart runs out a lot quicker than the BTC chart that we were looking at just a minute ago. But I'll kind of show you what I mean. They listed it up here when it was like 15 cents. So you can see from these levels, Kaspa is down 85%. You know what I mean? So what? 85% off an iPhone? People would love it. But like I said, I am not a financial advisor. So always do your own research. But, there is a lot of things that could affect crypto. Like I said, I think that crypto is the telltale of all. I think because it's the most tight liquidity. And so I think we're going to see that in the Qs. The Qs are trying to run a little bit. It looks like they're up on the day now. If we come over here, take a look. This is the 3-hour chart. So basically where it closed yesterday was right here at like 606. And then bam, it opened up what, 591. It was down a lot, and it's up to 602. So we'll have to see. Let's see if the Qs can get past this level right here, which is basically the close from yesterday. I also like to come to the daily chart and kind of mark out stuff on the daily and see. So if we look kind of on the daily here, we can mark just from short term, you know, just if we want to try to get picky with it and stuff like that. But overall, you know, one thing, I have a pretty decent sense of the market. Now, I'm often wrong on timing. Sometimes I might think something's going to drop, you know, within 2 days, and it ends up dropping in 3 weeks. That's why I'm not really good at like options, because I may be off a few weeks, you know. But overall, I live in Cyprus. I am bro. Let's take a look at this. Country in the Middle East. Let's take a look. Well, I just want to say, man, I'm praying for you. Looks like a nice little island. So you're right by Turkey, which Turkey's in NATO, right? Spain right here. Iran. I'm over here. So I do apologize. Oh wow, okay. So here's Israel right here. There's Tel Aviv. So yeah, you're like, I mean, trying to look, I'm not in your position. I couldn't imagine. So I'm sorry. Obviously that you're going through that. The only positives we could say is that a lot of the stuff's probably going this way and this way, like this. Hopefully not too much over. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm pray for you. I hope the conflict resolves as quickly as possible and as limited people get hurt as humanly possible, you know, with all of that. But yeah, the Qs are trying to run a little bit. I mean, they're fighting hard, right? There's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot. Like if we look at the weighted amount of, let's just look at NASDAQ stocks by weighted. It's like Nvidia, Apple. Yeah, see, Nvidia's 13% of this. Apple's 11%, Microsoft's 9%, Amazon 7%, Google, different alpha. Google is over 10, 11 if you add both of them, Class A and Class B. Meta's 5%, Broadcom 4.5%, Tesla 4%, Walmart 3%. So Netflix, you know, so it's just very tech loaded when we take a look at everything. And you know, overall P to E's are not horrible if you take a look like Nvidia, but if you look at something like Tesla, it is. We hear you. We haven't heard from, well, what are you talking about from since when? Oh, you said you didn't hear from Trump. Are you saying that you couldn't hear this video? Is that what you were saying? Okay. I get you, buddy. I get you. Okay. We're going to play that. I apologize. Thank you. So here we're going to play the video of the president talking about Spain.
Everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody, and Spain didn't do it. And now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to. But they were unfriendly, and so I told him we don't want to. Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. And as you know, they were the only country that in NATO would not agree to go up to 5%. I don't think they would have agreed to go up to anything. They wanted to keep it at 2%, and they don't pay the 2%. So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
I hope that was better, my friend. I hope it was better. Thank you very much. But that is the what the president was saying. They managed to hit a UK base here in my area. Yeah, that was an interesting thing that was going on with the Limassol. Is that the base? The base. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on with the UK right now. Poland, golly, I don't like seeing all this. Like France announced they're no longer going to disclose their in UK weapons, and then now Poland announces it's working on them. Like, I don't know. Is Poland NATO? Is Poland? And I don't. They must not be. Wow. So they've been in NATO since '99, but they don't have any. Poland is a committed member. Huh. That's interesting to me. I figured they would already have them. I didn't know that. Let's go back to that. What? UAE is considering action against Iran. Breaking. Iran once again says they have closed the Strait of Hormuz and oil prices will surge to 200 a barrel. Well, the Qs don't show that. But, I mean, like I said, they're just up a little bit. But, I mean, imagine, like, the panic it would put into people if this thing did drop 10%, which I know crypto bros are like, I posted the other day that that futures were down 2%, and they're like, is 2% even a lot? And I was like, gosh, bro, I know you've been in crypto for a long time. Like, I mean, these financial people, like, man, my risk tolerance would make a financial advisor at Charles Schwab or Fidelity like roll over. Like, they would have no earthly idea what I'm doing. It would be like, oh my gosh, I have such a risk tolerance. What are you talking about? What? We'll go over it though. Let me know. But yeah, I've just got such a high risk tolerance, you know, and people in crypto typically do. And so when the dude was like, is 2% even a lot? I was like, yeah, dude, 2%'s a lot. Like, if we look back at Liberation Day, what was that? And sorry, my wife's getting home, guys. So that's my golden retriever. He's a service dog for my son, or we tried to make him a service dog. I have a nonverbal autistic son. But over here was like around Liberation Day. And if you look at the drop on Liberation Day, 5%, right? And everybody was panicking about the stock market. Now, we all know what happened to crypto that day. Crypto, you know, some altcoins hit lower levels there on charts than they are even at now. But yeah, so it's just a different game. You're talking about huge amounts of money, huge amounts of capital in these, whereas crypto is just such a small asset class. Like, if we come over here and take a look at NVIDIA, and I've showed this before, NVIDIA, if we zoom in right here on the clip, you can see $4.4 trillion market cap. Okay. If we come over here and take a look at crypto, we could see crypto is a 2.35 trillion market cap, and BTC is approximately half of that. So you're talking about NVIDIA is approximately twice the size of all of the cryptocurrency market cap and about 4 times of Bitcoin. So either we are extremely early to this asset class we call cryptocurrency, or, I mean, I don't think there's another or. I really don't. I think we're just extremely early, and I can't wait. We're on the forefront of life-changing technology, and I'm here for every step of the way. But with such a young asset class, you do get tons of volatility, and that's just kind of a part of it. So let's see here. Let's see. 200 a barrel. Yeah, I mean, that's what Iran's saying, you know, and I think their strategy has been, which I don't think it's really working out how they thought it would work out, but I think their strategy with all this was that, you know, they were, hit, and then all these other Gulf countries started getting hit from them, and bases, whatever. But like this gentleman said, right, or this lady, I'm not sure, but either way, this very good person in the Finance Freeman family was talking about a UK base in their country that was hit. And I think the idea was to start like, a little bit of panic all around. So everyone was like pressuring, hey, okay, stop it now. But instead, those other countries have kind of joined in a lot of ways. And, oil surging to 200 a barrel would be catastrophic for global economies. There's no doubt about it. That's recession causing, which, my overlay is a recession incoming is not like fear baiting, clickbaiting. Like it's a real thing. It's a real thing we have to think about, especially when we look at things like Nvidia that are rolling tops. When we look at things like the Qs, like that I've been showing, are rolling a little bit, right? I mean, it's like I said, the chart's going to do what the chart's going to do, but these macro events can definitely give it an excuse to do that. And so, yeah, 200 a barrel would be crazy. I don't think that's realistic, but you never know. You never know. 20% of the global oil does come from there. Let's see here. The U.S. has considered providing military protection to oil and gas tankers traveling in the Strait of Hormuz in an effort to contain energy prices, per Politico. Okay, let's look at these details. Trump administration is consider having the U.S. government back insurance needed for tankers. That's what we talked about earlier, the insurance for these tankers. Very big deal. Number two, U.S. looking for ways to mitigate insurers canceling war risk policies. Okay, like I said earlier, that's the number one thing that could get these things parked if they don't have it. Natural gas and oil supplies from Qatar and Saudi Arabia are a key focus. Restoring access to the Strait of Hormuz is being viewed as vital. President Trump is clearly focusing on surging energy prices. And so, yeah, that's a big deal. Energy, oil, all of that's a very big deal. We'll have to see what comes from that. Let's see what else we got going on. President Trump on who should become the new leader. Let's listen to this.
Do you have someone in mind right now? Because you said all the people you did have in mind have been taken out. What do you think?
Well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
Do you have someone in mind?
Dang, war is crazy, guys. Like I said, if anyone's involved with it or in the area, I wish everyone the absolute best health and best chances, best life. Let's see what Jim Cramer, Inverse Cramer, saying. Getting the sell-off many expected Monday, but Iran hadn't activated its drone and missile arsenal. I think the futures aren't plummeting because there's no easy way to turn Iran offline from the air. The European Central Bank warns that rising stablecoin adoption could drain bank deposits, reduce lending, and weaken monetary policy transmission. What they actually mean by this is that they think that it will hurt their ability to control people. And you can see the surge in demand for Circle. which, you know, if you're watching this stream, oh my gosh, 104 for Circle. Wow. Guys, you know, we were talking about Circle back here in the 50s. I bought in the 60s. I posted it on X when it was 70. Wow. This thing is just absolutely skyrocketing. This is good. Still relatively, I mean, it's like a mid cap, but this is basically the only exposure in the stock market somebody could get to Circle or to stable coins. And with the legislation, the Clarity Act in the United States coming, it's interesting. It's definitely, but it basically flipped this level of 90 into support. You can see that. Boom, boom, boom. You know? Wow, you really skipped mine. What? I skipped your post? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Let's listen to this. This is Anthony Pompliano. Y'all know I had him up on the channel earlier this week. If you haven't got a chance to watch that, it's a good interview right here. I think it's a good interview. Let me know what y'all think. But I think I've already watched this. I think he's really, really right on this. That the issues originally with Iran and Venezuela shouldn't be taken at face value, in my personal opinion. If you look at it, it's all heavily around oil. And if you look from a macro perspective, China has gotten a lot of their oil from Venezuela and Iran, often at a discount. Also Russia, but Russia's not a little puppy dog. Like, it's hard to, you know, it's going to be hard to ever deal with Russia if they ever want to. And hopefully they don't, you know. And my wife's from Russia. I've been to Russia 5 times. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people. But a lot of this, I think, you know, we're seeing it. Oh, Venezuela, they're into like narcotics. Boom, you know, take out the leader, control the oil. Even the Iran thing, right? We're told it's about missiles and about other military capabilities. Maybe that's a portion of it, right? But a lot of it, I think, has to do with tightening the ability for China to get all this energy. And I think China's known about this for a while. If you look, they've invested heavily into solar and ways of renewable energy, but not because they care about the green energy efficient part of it, but because they care about the energy independence part of it. And so let's take a listen to what Pomp had to say here. I like Pomp a lot. Great guy. I can't say enough good things about him.
One of the big questions going on in the global economy right now is, why is the United States going after Venezuela and Iran? But the thing is, it's not really about Venezuela and Iran. Sure, we're engaged there in terms of going.
I think it's funny how everyone says things different. Like, I'm like Iran. Some people are Iran. You know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm a country boy. I got a little bit of an accent. You know, I say yes, ma'am. I say yes, sir. Stuff like that. I probably pronounce a lot of stuff wrong, so I appreciate y'all listening to me.
Capturing Nicolas Maduro, or we are striking Iran. But this is all about a geopolitical conflict with China. And China is actually the target of the U.S. actions. Let me explain what's going on here. So we know that China actually gets a huge amount of oil from Iran and Venezuela. For example, last year, Iran and Venezuela exported most of their oil to China. Iran was at 87% of all oil produced. They actually exported that to China. On top of that, 55% of all exports from Venezuela went to China. That's a big deal. Now, we know that 17% of all Chinese oil imports, those came from Venezuela and from Iran. Big deal. On top of that, we know that China is importing about 5 million daily barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. That's why all of a sudden that strait has become so important, especially because most tankers are unwilling to actually go through while there's conflict going on in Iran.
And one thing I'll comment on this is that I've seen Iran, tomato, say that, at least a report of it, right? It's not like I'm talking to the dude like, hey, man, what's going on? But they were saying that they were going to allow Chinese vessels to go to and from, but basically that was it. And like I said, a large portion of the energy that goes through there does go to China. And I think Pump's directly on par with what's actually going on.
And then lastly, we also know that Asia is very dependent on all oil that is coming through that Strait of Hormuz. Some countries, it's as much as 80 or 90% of all oil actually comes through that strait. And so as long as the United States is engaged in conflict in Iran, and Iran shooting missiles all over the Gulf Coast region, there's going to be less oil that flows through that. And that's why people are so worried about oil prices spiking higher. Now, the thing is that the United States also seems to have been somewhat strategic. We went into Venezuela and got Nicolas Maduro. It seems like now we've got a lot more control over the oil that's coming out of Venezuela. And we did that before we went into Iran. It allows the United States to be able to have a much better control over oil prices globally. And my guess is that it was able to deter a lot of the potential economic pain that came from our decision to go into Iran.
This is all a big scheme, right? Like, this is not like separate things that are going on. This is all a part of a big deal. And you and I, we're just little bitty ants in this world of this, globe of all of this stuff going on. And the only thing we could try to do is trade these markets, invest in these markets in the best ways that we can to get our little bitty ant crumbs to live our good ant life,
And so the question turns to China. What exactly are they going to do? They're going to get less oil. And so are they going to change their geopolitical strategy? We know that the United States just made a move on the chessboard, and now the ball's in China's court.
Yeah, I think Palm's right on. He's exactly right with that. Let's see what Golden Boy says. According to Trump, we went after Iran because they were about to attack us and we need to beat them to it. I don't believe that is true. Someone needs to demand that Trump produce the intelligence that convinced him Iran was about to attack. This dude's just mad that the dollar's going up and gold's going down. My neck's probably worth like $500 less today because gold's going down. Open's been making some pretty big moves. This is the Open Door CEO, Kaz, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And they've been making some pretty big moves. He has a salary of like $1. Everything's stock options. And what that means is that he basically doesn't get paid unless Open goes up. And so I don't think the move's done for Open. But it's one that it's becoming like a GME GameStop type thing, with a really big cult type following, but it's going to hopefully get to the point of automation. They announced something where they're now going to have like the lowest interest rates offered, 4.99%. They're doing a lot of automation. And if you look, it's a 4.71 bill market cap. It was down here at 45 cents. And I originally bought Open around $2. Shout out to Cherry Hillbilly for putting me onto it. But if we look right here, it bounced in the golden pocket right here between 618 and 65 fib level of the full move right there, if we want to look at the full move. So there's been a lot of analysts predicting that it could go down to $3, which is at the top of my range right here. And then the bottom of this range that I'm looking for. But this 276 is the 786 fib level. If we were to look at these as two separate moves, you can see the 786 fib level lies around $3.69 and the 886 fib level around 275. I typically look for 886 fib levels for like crypto, for more volatile assets, and for more stable assets, you could say, even though this has been very volatile over the last year. I typically try to look for 786, but I start considering things in the golden pocket right here. But the fact that it didn't make it up above the 0.5 fib level and that there's a lot of analysts calling for lower Not that I really listen to analysts, but there's a lot of people that do. And so whenever they've got price targets on it or 250 of $3, you know, a lot of retail does listen to that. But Open Doors definitely one that I like. Circle, I definitely like, but it's definitely on a heater. Like if I hadn't got in Circle personally, I wouldn't chase it probably, even though this thing could definitely just rip. I mean, it's a 25 bill market cap. Remember, Nvidia is 4 trillion, right? So it could definitely rip. The next real levels of resistance, if we look at Circle, right here, and then up here, you know. So what is that? 109, 158, and 300. So, and it's way overbought on the daily. If you look right here, 76. I mean, it could go, it could definitely go higher. If we look at the weekly, currently 54. So, yeah, I mean, that's just a massive candle, massive candles, massive runs going up there. You know, if we did get a drop back down to 80, maybe I DCA, even though it'd be averaging up, I still necessarily wouldn't be mad about that. Let's go see what else is, you know, the conflict overseas is such a fluid situation. Just one thing I want to mention. Leslie, I'm going to be on her show tomorrow. She's very nice. I was wishing she could have made it to ETH Denver so we could have met in person. But she has Unscripted. I think it's at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. And so I'll be on that show with her. We'll be going over stuff. So if y'all want to join, feel free. I'll make sure to retweet it whenever I jump in it. IDF struck compound where Iran develops nuclear capabilities. Iran's Khamenei did not designate his successor. Next, Iran supreme leader to be elected by vote. Some U.S. military commanders have reportedly been accused of telling their troops the Iran war is part of the biblical plan to trigger the end of times. Maybe we'll get into that tomorrow, guys. I don't know if y'all like us getting too much into this kind of stuff, but, you know, I do think it's important. I'm finance focused, but all of this matters. All of this matters. But the biblical end of times, if you read the Bible and you look at that kind of stuff, it is kind of amazing how what we're living through right now is a big deal. Trump says UK has been uncooperative and current leader is not Winston Churchill. Yeah, there's a lot. Like I was going through, his name's Keir something. Yeah, Keir Starmer. I was looking at a lot of stuff. Man, if you're from the UK, let me know what you think. But there's been a lot of people in the UK that I've seen. We're talking down about this guy that, look, is a disgrace. Like a lot of people. Let's listen to what the president said. And he's here with the German representative. I'm not sure if that's the German president or what. But yeah, somebody from Germany is in the White House today. Let's take a look at what the president had to say.
Stupid island.
And anytime we put on one of these clips, viewer discretion is advised, because you never know what he's going to say.
And so has UK. Now, the second one is shocking, but this is not the age of Churchill. I will say the UK has been very, very uncooperative with that stupid island that they have, that they gave away and took a 100-year lease, having to do with perhaps.
Bro, is that what you're talking about? Is that the island that you're on? Cyprus? Is that the island he's talking about? Let me know if that's what you're talking about. If that's where you live.
Perhaps indigenous people claiming the island that never even saw the island before. What's that all about? And they ruin relationships. It's a shame. It's and that country, UK, and I love that country. I love it. My mother was born there. I love it. My mother was born there. My father was born. Right, he knows all about my father. My father was born there. So very places that you sort of automatically very feel warmly about. But the UK, what they're doing with energy and what they're doing with immigration is horrible. You have the North Sea. Somebody said yesterday, what?
Oh, I wish that clip didn't cut off. But yeah, I wonder if he was talking about Cyprus, if that's what he was talking about. Let's go take a look at the Qs real quick. Beyond, like the fake meat thing, man, I think that was just a I mean, I don't think it's a good company, probably. I did trade it a while back. Look, I even have a chart on it. I traded it through this whole craziness right here because this was on Wall Street Bets big time and everything. But next earning report tomorrow, I mean, I think the odds are this company is like going bankrupt eventually. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, buddy. I think it depends on risk tolerance and stuff. I mean, maybe there's potential. My favorite thing would be wanting it to go up so I could short it. But yeah, that's I don't think it's definitely. I like investing in like good assets. Like the only things that are that I like play around with that aren't like considered very, good assets are like meme coins in the trenches, like in crypto, just because I like them. But other than that, but yeah, you can see markets pretty undecided. We weren't able to really break back above this trend line, which has been going from back here, so I still think the Qs are going to roll over. Let's take a look at BTC. Yeah, BTC is trying to make it up here. If it was forming a cup and handle here, it could try to break out. But I just don't think BTC is going to move without the stocks moving, without the NASDAQ moving. And like I said earlier in the stream, I think that crypto is the telltale of all. I think what happened here is going to happen in the stock market. Liquidity is tight. The Fed's not moving. And so that's basically how I think about everything, guys. But hey, I really appreciate you all joining today. We had like 300 and something people live across platforms. So really, really appreciate you all. We will be back tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bring your questions. I will be here and we will talk more. I love you all.